Men deal with all type of issues, and one of the things that we want to talk about today is stress. Okay, here we go. You have reached the I'm Dealing With broadcast. I'm Sean, your host. Today we'll be talking about, in this episode, stress. Stress with men. That's what we're going to talk about today. And if you're feeling stressed, stay tuned. Here we go. I'm Sean, your host. Welcome to another edition of I'm Dealing With broadcast. Today we'll be talking about the subject of stress. Stress among men. Not just stress in general, but stress among men, because many men, and we don't talk about it, but we deal with stress quite a bit. I mean, it's just one of those given things. And a lot of times we just want to hold back, not talk about it because of the general consensus of you can't handle this and you can't handle that. So we want to just really talk about, the realities of stress that happens, that men deal with on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis. So let's talk about some of these subjects and dealing with stress and why these things happen. But before we get into why it happens, let's talk about the effects of stress. Let's talk about the effects of stress. Okay, so we'll just start with number one. Sometimes stress among men, women too, but again, focuses on men, right? So one of the things among men that men deal with is skin problems. So I know for sure that my brother, for a while, he was dealing with some stress on his job and some different things, and just a lot of things that just happen, that transpire. And because there are some different things that happen in our family, as far as things that are passed down from generation to generation, many of you, sometimes it's diabetes, heart problems, lung issues, So one of the things that we found out, which I didn't know until I spoke with him about it, I didn't realize that psoriasis is a hereditary trait in our family. But his really didn't kick off until he was under this amount of stress in his workload, at work, and some different things that happened, as well as the ministry that he was dealing with. There's some stress there because you're trying to tackle and balance both your family life, your work life, and also now your pastorate or your ministry life. So many of you have all kinds of different things going on in your life. You've got your family balance, your family dynamic, maybe your social dynamic, maybe you are in some type of ministry, maybe you're a faith-based person, whatever that is, and you participate in that. Maybe you also have your work, as far as whether you're a content creator, whether you're an entrepreneur, whatever that is, you've got that going on. Maybe stress of your kids, your children. And we know a lot of people right now with this whole pandemic, some people couldn't wait for their kids to go back to school, right? Because it's like, first you're like, yeah, I think we can handle it. It'd be good, nice for all of us to spend some quality time together. About week number 4, you're like, get out, right? So, but anyway, that was one of the things that happened with him is skin problems. And many men deal with skin problems. And some of that is not just something that's hereditary trait, but sometimes is due to stress causes skin problems. Let's talk about another subject, weight gain or loss. Man, okay. I'm going to raise both my hands up because I've put on some weight. I'm like going, man, I've put on some weight. And I've got some things going on, right? But I've put on some weight. I usually try to hover. My goal has been around a 185, 190, right? And I was 196, 90, somewhere between 196 and 200, hovering around there. And lo and behold, man, right now, I think I weighed myself the other night, and I was like 223. I'm like, what the heck? What the HE hockey sticks is this? I mean, yes, I mean, weight. We're either gaining weight as men or we lose weight because of stress. And again, this goes back to, let's say, money issues, family dynamic, a bunch of different things. So these are all the things that could happen when you're under stress. So take into account all the things that you men have going on in your life, and think about how, some of this is affecting you. Sometimes you don't understand why I'm losing weight, gaining weight, or I'm fluctuating up and down, or I'm putting on a lot of weight, or I'm losing a lot of weight. Maybe it's due to stress, okay? Stomach cramps. That's another one, okay? Stomach cramps can happen. Increased perspiration. That can happen. People sweating a lot, man, because under stress. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna tell you a quick story. Trust me, this is gonna be quick. We were all at a restaurant, and having a good time at a restaurant. And I mean, we got this waiter at this restaurant, and he had just came in. I mean, literally just came to work, and they gave us this waiter. He wasn't on the floor 5 minutes. And again, I don't know what's been going on in his life. I don't know his dynamic, what he's up against, but he showed up. And the first time we saw him, it was, no big deal. But then when he came back to the table again, it was like somebody took a bucket or a huge squirt gun, like a super soaker, and just let him have it. And I mean, he was sweating like crazy. He was sweating and perspiring. I mean, his shirt was even wet. He had on a white shirt. His shirt, you could see all up, in his armpits and right up in here. All this was wet, just crazy. And we were like, okay, this is a restaurant. This is not good. Needless to say, we had to get somebody else to replace him because that just wasn't, I'm sorry. We weren't even in a pandemic during that time. That was about several years ago. And trust me, I was like, oh, this is not good. Okay. So we had to get somebody else, but understand that can happen when you're under pressure, stress. All these things can cause you to perspire abnormally than you would normally would. Okay. Constipation or diarrhea. Well, I haven't had that happen due to stress. Usually it's because I eat something stupid, or something didn't agree with me, or I'm sick. That's for me. But for some people that happens, okay? Indigestion. Yeah, that happens. I mean, sometimes you can be put on the spot, or you have to have a speaking engagement. You have to stand up before people, and your stomach's kind of going crazy, and you start having this indigestion problem. It can happen. I've gone through it. It does happen. Okay. Tightness or dryness or feeling of having a lump in your throat. Yeah, that can happen too. Yeah, for those of you that you work in an environment where you have to speak in front of your peers, whether you're doing some type of presentation, a trade show, or whatever the case may be. Sometimes people have that lump in their throat, or let's just say you're a singer or some type of performer or some type of actor, and you're before people a lot. That can definitely happen, that you feel like you have this lump in your throat. That can happen. Clenched jaws, grinding teeth. It hasn't happened. I mean, it's like, but that's not me. But it does happen to people. Yeah, it does. Dizziness and headaches. Now, I get, what's amazing is for me, I get headaches quite a bit, but I've always had them. I've had them since I was a child. Don't know why. I've gone to the hospital, and there's a time, especially when I was younger, and every time I'd have a headache, I'd go and they'd hook all these probes up to me. I mean, literally, I looked like some type of scientific subject or something like that. I was being an experiment. And they would hook all these things up to me to find out what was causing the headaches. Could never figure it out. So needless to say, here we are, at our age, older, and we still get these headaches, and it just happens. I mean, sometimes I can go a whole week without them, and other times uh, I have them twice a week. Sometimes I can go a whole month without them. Very seldom, but it does happen. So headaches do happen. Muscle aches, neck pain. Yes, that can happen when you're under stress. Muscle aches and neck pain. Diminish or increase sex drive. Yep. That's all I'm going to say about that. Yep, it can happen. You can diminish real quick when you're under stress. You're just not in the mood, right? It can happen. Fatigue. Your body can get fatigued real quick, when you're under stress, or your body is not just cramping up to a point, but you just feel like you're tired all the time. You have no energy. You have no drive. It's just like, man, you feel like a wet sponge, right? It just seems like everything in your on your body is just heavy. It's like you're dragging. There are ways around that. Make sure number one, you're eating right and things of that sort to help you. But stress can have an effect on your likelihood of being able to just like move forward and just have this drive, or you can be fatigued. Okay. Shortness of breath. Yes, that does happen, especially when you're under stress. You can have shortness of breath where, it's almost like an anxiety type of deal, where you're just, or every, 5 steps or something like that, you got to stop and whatever, because there's a lot of things that you're thinking about and you just wore out, and it happens. Okay. High blood pressure. So if you have high blood pressure, first and foremost, not just think about what you eat, what your diet intake is, whether it's juices, sodas, water, lettuce, no lettuce, vegetables, no vegetables, all the other different things, the type of meats or no meats, whether you're vegetarian or whatever the case may be. Not just thinking about that, but the next thing you think about is whether or not you're going through a stressful time or not. Do you have any stress in your life? Do you have some things that are backing you up against the wall to where you pretty much have to figure out how things are going to work out? Maybe your mind's just wandering all night long and stuff like that, and you're not sleeping like you should, because it will affect your sleeping habits, okay? And that can cause your high blood pressure. Let's keep moving. Heart pounding, as well as also the same category, chest pains. Yeah, that can happen. I will talk about a particular story, and this is a true story. I'll keep it as short as possible. But one of the things that I went through in dealing with stress, I was working a very, very high intensity job where being part of a management team, there's a lot of things you just got to manage and just be over. A lot of people you're over, you're responsible for everything that happens. It's just what it is. When you're in management, it's just what it is. Sometimes it's a lot of pressure, sometimes not so much, but that depends on who you report to. It depends upon who your direct reports are, who you report to. Excuse me. So, in this regard, I was just going through a lot of things, but it wasn't just the work life. It was a home life and a bunch of other different things. And in my personal life. So I was on my way because I chose, well, it wasn't, not that I chose, but the hours that I work, and I've worked them for, many, 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 many years. I mean, 20 years plus, where I worked a graveyard shift, pretty much, if you want to call it that. One place it was like 11 to 7. And then in this place, I was working basically from, I would say about 12 at night, 12 midnight, basically, to roughly 11 in the morning. 12 midnight to 11 in the morning. But most of the time, I wasn't getting out of there and on my way back home until about 3 p.m. Yeah. Imagine that. 12 a.m. to 3 p.m. and then having to turn around and do it again the next day and the next day and the next day. So you've got the work life, you've got the home life that's out of balance. So work life is out of balance. And trying to find some personal time / your spiritual life and some of the other different things there, all out of balance. So I was doing a bunch of different things, trying to make things work. And, sometimes you're going, trying to make some things work. So this particular night I was on my way to work and I was driving up the freeway. And I remember stopping at a gas station to get some things that I needed for work, grab some gas, got some things, hop back on the freeway. And I mean, literally, it wasn't, I would say maybe 5 minutes. And the next thing I knew, and next thing you know, I'm on the side of the freeway with my headlights facing bushes. Yes, my headlight facing bushes. And during this time I had, a decent, a nice car. And I opened my eyes and I'm like, what the heck? What am I doing? What is this? I'm like, why am I seeing bushes? And then I'm like, where am I? And I look in my rearview mirror, and behind me, I'm looking in my rearview mirror here, behind me out of my my rear window, I can see cars going by. Not many cars, because again, we're talking, I think that this time is probably 11:30 at night, between 11:30 and 12 midnight, somewhere around there. And cars are going by. So I turn around and look, and I realize the freeway is behind me back here. And I'm like, what the heck? So, but what woke me up, I really talk about this, was a banging on my car. This guy was doom, banging on the window, banging on the car. And he's like, hey, are you okay? Are you okay in there? Are you okay? And I'm like, what the heck? What is this? And I rolled down the window and I'm like, can I help you? He's like, are you okay? I'm like, what do you mean, am I okay? He said, I see your car sitting over here on the side of the road, and I wasn't sure if anybody was in it or not. Now, mind you, at this point, I realized when I saw my headlights on and I'm facing bushes that my headlights are on, the interior lights in the car on, and the engine is running. The car is running. The car is running. And I'm at a dead stop. And I'm like, what the heck? Okay. So he gets my attention. I roll down the windows and I kind of come to myself. I get out the car. And not only did I get out the car, I got out and I walked around the car real quick. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, what happened? Who did I hit? Did I injure anybody? And then I was like, dang, is my car jacked up? Is my car messed up? Is it paint messed up? Did I dent anything? Did I get involved in a car accident? I mean, did I, so there's a lot of things that are running through my head. So as I'm walking around the car, I'm looking. There are no marks on the car. And I also turn my attention to looking at the freeway to make sure there's nobody on the freeway. Did I hit somebody on the freeway? Did I hit a car? Did I hit a body? Did I hit a dog? Did I, So I had all these things going on in my head while visually trying to make some sense of it all. And so I backed out the car and I, because basically if the freeway is here, my car was facing this way. So the freeway is back, this way. So north, south. Okay. So the freeway is just like right here. So I backed out the car and then put it in emergency lane right here. And I just kind of looked around and made sure everything was good. So I, truck driver, and what happened was it was a truck driver driving an 18-wheeler. And he goes, are you sure you're okay? I said, I'm good. I said, I'm fine. He goes, you don't need me to call anybody? I said, no. I'm good. And I didn't fall asleep because My life has always been, the whole time of working graveyard and what have you, is I would go to sleep somewhere between 4 and 6 o'clock in the afternoon, evening, whatever. Wake up roughly about 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, depending upon what time I have to get to work, to make my body think I'm getting up in the morning. So I was wide awake. So it wasn't like I fell asleep at the wheel. And I'm like, what happened? Like I just nodded off. But the one thing that I remembered while I sat there before I decided my next move, I remembered when I got back on the freeway that I had a mild chest pain. I remember that. I remember I had a mild chest pain before when I was getting back on the freeway. That was the last thing I remember. So at that point, I had to decide, okay, what are you going to do? You're going to go to work or you're not? Needless to say, the hospital wasn't too far. I got off the freeway, got back on the freeway, and I went right to emergency, because that has never happened to me ever in my life. And to be honest with you, truthfully, man to man, mano y mano, I was scared half to death because I didn't know. And when you don't know, when you really know when you really know your body, you know that there are certain things that has happened to you before. There's certain pain you can take. There's certain things that you can deal with. But then when something that happens to you very abnormally, you then have to make a decision as to how you're going to handle it. And my decision was to go straight to emergency. That's exactly what I did. I called in to work. I think I called in, or my wife called in, whatever the case may be. Called in to work, and I said, he not coming. Basically, he gone. That's what that was. For them to figure out what was going on with me. Needless to say, to make a long story short, I went through more processes than you can shake a stick at. I went through stress tests. I went through everything, even an angioplasty, all these things to figure out what was going on in my life. And after all that, and ended up being off of work for roughly about 4 months. Because the other thing is, now that they knew that I had that issue many, many years ago, then I couldn't drive. Imagine that. I mean, the thing I love to do the most, I couldn't drive until I was cleared. And basically, after all those different things and going through to see if I needed a stent or anything of that sort, after all those things, a lot of stuff was due to stress. They couldn't find a whole lot of things that were going on. Yeah, there were some things that need to be worked on. Yeah. But a lot of the initial things were due to stress. And when you are stressed out as a man, many things can happen or take a toll on your life. Sometimes they're physically, and then other things that are mentally. So let's talk about some of the mental things that happens with stress. Depression. We're going to talk about that in another segment, dealing with depression. Okay. Sadness. Crying. Man. I know that all too well. Crying. Oh, trust me, you're not a punk if you cry. Men, if you need to cry, it's just what that is. Okay. It happens. Withdrawal or isolation. That happens. Insomnia, meaning you can't even sleep. It's just because there's so many things going on. Mood swings. It's not because of steroids. You're stressed. Okay. It's not because you're not taking the right vitamins and different things like that. You got a lot of stressors going on. Mood swings. We talk about women having mood swings. So do men. Men, we can have mood swings, especially when we're stressed out. Worrying. Man, we worry. Yes, we do. How are we going to pay for the family? How are we going to take care of this? How are we going to take care of the bills? How are we going to take care of that? How are we going to because we get stressed out, worrying. Relentless anxiety. Oh yeah, we can have anxiety, just be relentless and having issues, but yeah, relentless anxiety. Ooh, this next one. Increased use of alcohol and drugs. Okay. So for those of you that drink or and do drugs, don't. Number one, don't. Um, because many times when you're stressed, you find yourself doing things that you normally wouldn't do. And alcohol and drugs is not the way to cope with being stressed. Because what happens is, it's like alcohol and drugs is almost one and the same. And here's why I say this. The first time you get high on drugs, you'll never get that high again. The first time you get drunk, you'll never get that drunk again. And what happens is you're always looking for the same high as you had the first time. You're always looking for the same drunkenness that you had the first time. You won't get it. So you constantly end up going through this cyclic effect, this rotating effect, trying to achieve what you had the first time. And stressors sometimes have a way of making people turn to the things that they normally would not do to cope with the problem. And the truth of the matter is after that high is over, after you sober up, that problem is still there. So the question is, how are you going to handle it? Okay? So don't go that route with the alcohol and drugs, okay? If you're stressed, don't go that route. But just know these things happen. So if you're a woman listening to this broadcast, or a brother that's listening to a broadcast, a father, a mother, and you have a man in your life who's dealing with alcohol, drugs, or even a lot of smoking, maybe see if they are stressed. Is there a stressor that's causing it? And please address that, okay? Changes in close relationships. Yeah, that happens. Stressors can cause you to change your relationships, your circle of friends, or your circle of influence. And that happens with stress, okay? Job dissatisfaction. Yep. Yep, that happens. When you're stressed out, you realize that you are completely dissatisfied with your job. And sometimes it's the job that you have that's causing you to be stressed. You know, I was told if you enjoy what you're doing, you never work a day in your life. So maybe you just need to find something that you enjoy doing. Okay. That might be one way. Okay. Decreased productivity. Yep. When you're stressed, you lose that productivity. And that is regardless of home, work, maybe in your the place that you serve, whether it's through giving or voluntary work or whatever that is. You know, sometimes when you're stressed, that productivity you used to have goes down. Feelings of insecurity. Yep, that happens to many men. Insecure. You think about it right now. You have a whole lot of men that are so insecure. It's hard to find ammunition. It's hard to find guns. Everybody's buying them because people are insecure. You know why? Stress. They're stressed out. Look at all the riots. Oh my God, they might break into my house. They might do this. They might. Oh, the stress now. You're going to the store. You're going to the gun shop or whatever the case may be, and you're buying ammunition. You're buying guns. You're buying some type of weapon, knives, whatever the case may be, because you're stressed out due to the fact that you're insecure. It happens. Overeating or anorexia. That happens. I know that happens a lot with women for sure. Overeating, that happens a lot with men. Hence the weight gain of a lot of men. They got a lot going on and they turn to food. They'll hit the smorgasbord. They'll hit the casino and go to the place they can all you can eat. Just keep going back to different places because food has now turned to being their friend. Food is the only thing that understands me. Well, no, it's food. Don't understand anything. It just goes in your stomach. You're not supposed to live to eat. You're supposed to eat to live. Okay, so people are turning to food, which is why this feeling, or should I say not the feeling, that's why the overeating happens. Irritability, anger, or and losing and having self-control. Yes, many people get very angry when they're stressed out, because when things happen, they don't know how to process that. They don't know how to deal with it. They don't know how to move forward. They don't know how to make sure they're doing the right thing. They just, any little thing just, it's like a trigger to them, and they're just kind of go off the handle. And it's like one of those things it's like, what do you do? How do you handle this, that, and the other? Yeah, I mean, the truth of the matter is it happens, right? It does happen. But the goal at every getting point is, regardless of what your symptoms physically can be, or what your symptoms mentally can be, is to get help. Help. Don't stay stressed out. Don't stay in a place where you don't know what to do. Don't stay in a place where you have all kinds of issues and things of that sort. Work on trying to get the help that you need, so that way you can move forward. Being stressed and staying stressed is not a way of life. It's not going to benefit you in the long run. If anything, it holds you back, and you won't want to be held back. I'm Sean, your host. Stay tuned for the next edition of I'm Dealing With. Be blessed.